All right, here with reaction, author of Crisis Tales, 5 Rules for Coping with Crisis in Business, Politics, and Life, Lanny Davis, and Fox News legal analyst Peter Johnson, Jr. If they don't hand over everything, Peter, what's the point?
Then there is no point. It's regrettable that the RNC had to do it, but it's refreshing because we've had this atmosphere of deceit, deception, prevarication, another word called lying, from Jay Carney to the president to high officials in our government with 10 different stories, none of them true. And so if it takes a Freedom of Information Act request to cleanse the garbage, then let's get to the truth now, right now.
Well, Lanny, I mean, you may disagree with the president, but the president did advance the narrative 2 weeks after the terror attacks, but on The View and before the United Nations, over this idea that we now know is false, that this was spontaneous, it wasn't, and number two, that this was, for example, not a terror-related incident.
You know that the fact is that the 12 versions of the talking points that contained exactly what you just said was said by the CIA to have authored the very words you just said.
Lanny, that's not true.
Obama. That is a
12th
fact,
version.
Sean.
Wait a minute. That 12th version. David Petraeus said he didn't want anything to do with it. Didn't want them to release it.
I asked you whether it is a fact that in all 12 versions, the CIA draft said spontaneous demonstration inspired by Cairo.
Lanny,
yes or no?
Lanny, you're a great lawyer, and you're really good. It all depends what is defending Bill Clinton, and I didn't have sex.
That's a fact, Sean. That's a fact.
But wait a minute. But the reality is it went from the truth that this was terror-related, Ansar al-Sharia, to a lie about this being related to a YouTube video. And that was a lie.
Actually, the CIA not only admitted to saying inspired by Cairo protests and spontaneous protests in all 12 drafts, they also admitted to having scratched out any reference to al-Qaeda.
Well, what's the point, though, Lanny? What's the point?
I just wanted to correct what Sean said.
No, but Sean was absolutely right. The president on September 25th at the United Nations led the United States and the world to believe that this was a spontaneous attack that occurred because of an anti-Muslim video. That's what he was hinting at the United Nations 14 days later. 2 weeks later, Jay Carney on September 19th talked about a video. On September 14th, Ambassador Rice made up this notion about a video.
Peter?
So
is this a plot that the CIA was politicized by
the White House? I don't know why you. I know you want to excuse the State Department for your own reasons. I don't care whether it's CIA, State Department, or White House.
You're accusing the White House, and you don't care what the facts are.
There's a web of deceit.
He's best friends with Hillary.
Have you? You haven't contradicted.
Oh, I have. The president contradicted himself.
That the CIA wrote those words.
You're so good at defending the indefensible. It's tough to argue with you. You've had more experience than anybody in American history in doing it, but you know the facts are not with you here.
Let me go. Hang on a second, Lanny. Hang on a second. Let me go to another issue.
Yes or no to my question.
Peter, I want to ask.
Yes or no?
Oh, wait a minute. I get to ask the questions. I'm not a potted plant.
No, you're not, Sean.
Let me ask Peter.
It's hard to answer a question where the truth is what I said, Sean.
I want to know. We still don't know why the request for security was denied. We don't know why stand-down orders were denied. We don't know where the president was on the day of the attack, and we don't know how the original talking points were truthful and became a lie. Are those important questions?
Those are critical questions. Where was the commander-in-chief? Why was the commander-in-chief packing for Las Vegas when Americans were under fire? When 125 to 150 members of Ansar al-Sharia, who still have not been brought to justice, were attacking Americans? Why did the Libyan officials say it was a terror attack? Why does the president sometimes say, oh, no, I said it was a terror attack, and then 2 weeks later at the United Nations talks about a video and condemns this anti-Muslim video that had nothing to do with this attack?
All right. Sean, Lanny, let me ask you, is there anything before denied requested security, during people told to stand down, the president MIA, after a web of lies? Is there any part of this in your liberal Clinton-supporting mind that is bothered by it?
Not that you do name-calling. Look, I think it's a very serious matter when 4 Americans died.
What bothers you about what I said, though?
I think that the study made by the review board that Secretary of State Clinton appointed called for major changes at the State Department due to this tragedy.
Secretary of State Clinton was never interviewed by that review board. and they haven't given to Congress.
Excuse me, Peter, when you interrupt me, if you think that interrupting me is going to obscure your inability to say yes or no to a fact, you just interrupted me, so I will finish.
Please.
I think it's a very serious matter. I think it deserved full investigation. It was investigated, including by Admiral Mullins, who came up with 47 or 37, excuse me, recommendations. Secretary of State Clinton accepted them, and I do think this is a very serious matter.
All right, let me move on to one other issue, and Lanny, I'm going to give you a chance to redeem yourself with this issue, because you did say it was politically brain dead to label a Fox reporter, our colleague James Rosen, a co-conspirator.
Yes, I think that I don't doubt that Eric Holder believed that there was a necessity to investigate a very serious national security breach. I disagree and wrote today, he's a friend of mine, that the notion that you should name a co-conspirator who is a legitimate and highly respected reporter and then accuse him of a crime by calling him a co-conspirator it was a very bad mistake.
Lanny,
I think he's expressed it. No, I don't think he should go.
Lanny,
I think
would you agree with me that he should
regret.
apologize to James Rosen and Fox News, and you're a great lawyer, noisily withdraw that allegation that he was a treasonous American engaging in espionage?
The fact that somebody as partisan,
should do that?
The fact that somebody as partisan as you asked for an apology means I would say no, I don't agree.
I didn't say apology.
Your partisanship and your double standard were revealed tonight, Peter, when you couldn't answer a simple question.
I'm a Democrat.
On fact.
I told you the facts, Lanny. You wanted to scream me down. We'll do it again sometime.
I'm simply saying that I wouldn't say Eric Holder should apologize when you ask for the apology.
He shouldn't apologize when he does something that egregious and wrong.
No, he's expressed his remorse.
And goes against our Constitution.
I thought you for the First Amendment, Lanny.
He expressed, he has said that it was a mistake.
The First Amendment, Lanny?
And I appreciate the fact that he now says it was a mistake. I think it was a mistake, Sean.
All right.